Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Athena talk. The talks that happen almost every Friday now for the fourth consecutive year. We are from Hellenic Mediterranean University and Athena European University, and we are very happy and honored to have today with us Professor Cai Mamlok from Weizmann Institute of Technology in Israel. And she will talk to us about education for sustainable development in the framework of SciCar, science educators towards becoming agents of change. Before I give the floor to our today's speaker, a short introduction about her. So she's a faculty member of the Department of Science and Teaching of the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel. And she has a very distinguished profile, including completing a PhD at Bar-Ilan University in 1998. And for her professional career, she was the coordinator of chemistry group at the Department of Science Teaching of Weizmann Institute of Science. And she was the head of National Center for Chemistry Teacher of the same university. Also, she has done several. She had several positions across Europe and USA, among of them including visiting professor at EPFL in Switzerland, assistant visiting professor at North Carolina State University in the US, and also a postdoc of the University of Michigan. And one of the key appointments that is connected to Athena European University and University Alliances include that she was, up to last month, a chair of the Division of Chemistry Education at the European Chemical Society. So, Raquel, once again, we are very honored to have you today with us. And now I will give you the floor to share your screen and start your presentation. So, yes, so
Thank
please.
you very much. And okay, so I will start. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you, George, for presenting me, although here it's written to Konstantinos Petridis, but he was the one who invited me, but you are the one who is moderating it, so I thank you very much for your efforts. And now to my talk. The outline will be about SciCar program, which is a European program, Education for Sustainable Development, Agency of Change, examples of activities, and summary. So what is the SciCar program? It is in the framework of the European Chemical Society. It is a consortium of 3 universities, the University of Tartu, University of Helsinki, and the Weizmann Institute. And if we look at the people, here we have at the University of Tartu in Estonia, Professor Mia Radikme. Actually, she is the lead coordinator, together with visiting Professor Jack Holbrook. Here we have Professor Jari Lavonen from the Helsinki University, Professor Ron Blonder from Weizmann Institute, Department of Science Teaching, and myself. What do we know about it? The SciCar project is part of the twinning of research institution in the framework of Horizon 2020, the European Horizon 2020. 2020. And the goal of the project is to increase students' awareness to scientific careers, and especially sometimes it's women who are giving up very easily about it, to improve the level of expertise in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to promote collaboration between institutions, and especially international institutions, and to reduce the gap that exists between the research in science and the research in science education. Because if they are not in alignment with each other, it may be a problem. It's not part of what we are teaching, and therefore it can cause some troubles. So, SciCars, as I said, it's acronym for Scientific Career Advancement. The leaders faculty from Tartu University, Helsinki, and Israel. Population is about science teacher educators, science educators in general, the universities as well, and PhD students. Again, due to what's happening in the world, many of the activities were delivered not face-to-face, but rather online, which was quite a challenge. But we needed to develop diverse methods in order to have this integrated knowledge and skills offered to our population. Again, I would like to pay, the honor to the European Chemical Society, whose the call referred to what's happening now in the world, about the climate change, food health, about seeking more economical solutions, and the constant claim that education and training help promote sustained economical growth by fueling research and development, innovation, and competitiveness. I would like here to make a comment. We're talking about sustainability and education. We're still not balanced, because little children and students, pupils at schools, think, okay, if we're going to somehow to accumulate all the plastic bags and to be good citizens, then everything will be fine. No. We should also teach in this, sustainability issues that there are forces that are bigger than us. For example, we have what's happening now in California, all these fire shots and earthquakes and all that. Sometimes, we can't do anything, but we need to take care about our environment, our close environment, and learn how to live in a very cultural and ethical way. This is important, because when we are somehow educating students, do this and don't do this, they are sure that everything will be okay. And then they get disappointed, and they can, somehow take the other route, an extreme route. So we need from the beginning tell them that it's a part of education in our close environment, pollution, the quality of water, quality of air, and so on. It's not that we are going to solve completely. We have some part of it, but we're not going to solve completely everything that's happening in the world. Not everything is in our hands, but we can take care about what's happening around us. So here, that's why it meets development, sustainable, it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. it has to do with our own needs now. It's taken from the report from 1987 of Environment and Development, United Nations. Now, education for sustainable development. What do we mean by that? We want to offer students the integration of socio-scientific issues, aspects relevant with economic considerations, technological developments. We want to show how do we want to make our environment look better. We should breathe better and not only with pollution and spoiled water and so on. Why doesn't he want? Okay. We want to enable them to assess and decide about processes, chemistry-based or others, technologies. For example, not always thinking chemistry is very, very bad to us because it is responsible to the pollution, and no, they need to know that it has its very beneficial sides. We have about medications, it's about fertilizers, and so on. A lot of developments, even in the high-tech developments. So they should become responsible citizens, and whenever they need to make a decision, know all the parameters, all the criteria in which they need to decide where to go, what is the balance of their decisions. There is also, since 2012, a very good, article in SERP, Education, Research and Practice, that I should recommend you. Now, all this process is part of the SDGs, the development goals that were the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and all other institutions. As we can see, we have here many, many, many goals. The climate action, we have the water, what's happened with the water. We look at the even quality of education. We look at health and so on. So it has to do with many, many things together. And not only if we can stop the earthquake or not. And we need also to teach what's going on, what are the circles of the sun, and what are the processes that we can't control. We can do what we can do. So how can we convey it? How can we convey it to students, to the population, and to everybody who is around us? So of course, we need to contextualize the
Excuse me for interrupting, but somehow, are you changing slides?
You don't see it?
Because up to now, it is frozen on the slide, education for
I'm
sustainable
changing it the whole time.
Oof.
I'm sorry.
Could you please stop sharing and share again? Because somehow, at least for
Yes.
my
Sorry.
window, it looks frozen.
I stopped.
Yeah, could you please share it again?
I can go back if you think. Do you see now?
No. Just a moment. Yeah, okay. Continue from this one.
Shall I
Okay.
go back?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go on. It's okay.
Was I understood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow, maybe it was for my laptop, but I think it was for everybody. It was frozen.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay,
Thank you,
thank
Emil.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So we should contextualize, our issues. Talk about them or teach them or learn in context. Not just, say, oh, okay, today we're going to talk about sustainable development. We should address technological environmental challenges in the socio-scientific issues based. For example, I can give here an example about fuels. When we're talking about biofuel, biodiesel, and so on, do we think about all the social issues? Do we think about that if we are going to use this corn, let's say corn type fuel, we're going to cause many countries go into starving? We should balance it. We also need to think and to talk about innovating school life and life in general along sustainability principle. And it's very easy. It's not something that can't be done. And it's based, of course, as you can see, on research. And we should add to it, as much as possible, non-formal activities, mainly going outside, museums, site visits, job shadowing, that our students or people will somehow follow scientists, see what they do, and understand what's going on around us. So now I can, okay. So who should convey the message? Who are the people? We can say we should, but how? And now the OECD in 2019 envisions an educational landscape where students and educators work together to foster motivation, define what do we mean by learning objective, learning style, and have the ability to navigate this process in the world. Again, I can share with you this, no problem, and give you this presentation because we have here some references if you will be interested in it. And how do we call it? How do you call the people who are delivering the message and who are working for it? We call them agents. They are the agents of change, and they should be able to do it like these agents of change, these agents, James Bond agents who wanted to change the world. So it involves people who can do it, who have the ability to get engaged in these actions and somehow to convey the message. But they need, of course, to be prepared because it is encapsulated in the experience of being able to influence and master their own actions and consequences, stand behind it and be very, very, how do you call it, not stubborn, but try to do it as good as possible. And who are the SciCar, Scientific Career, the project, Agents for Change. So we worked with science educators and PhD students in science education in Estonia, Finland, and Israel, of course. And now it's my opportunity to say that today I'm much happier than I was 1 week before. And I'm happy to share the message that maybe the situation now in Israel will be better because there is an agreement to bring the hostages back from Sunday on. So it was just sharing with you my happiness. So within SciCar, it was 2 things that were done, 2 activities, job shadowing and site visiting. Job shadowing, what it means, it's observing and learning the experience of persons who are in charge of some profession or activities that we can learn from them and follow them throughout their workday. Side visit, and it's a process. It's a process of a few meetings. They can be a few until 10 meetings or even during 1 year. Site visits are shorter. They can be 1 day or 2 days, but they involve visits in a laboratory, a research group, discussions in informal activities, and so on. So, how do we prepare the agents of change to deliver it? As we said, now it's more elaborated on it. We have not only the job shadowing, but we have also several online seminars, meetings. We had meetings face-to-face of 1 day at Tallinn Academy of Science. So we have, in summary, 3 meetings like this. We had meetings in Israel and in Finland about job shadowing and visits, and PhD seminars in Finland and in Estonia. Now I will elaborate a little bit on it and see how it goes. So, a laboratory at the Weizmann Institute, the visit, with science educators and PhD students from the University of Tartu. They came from the 20th to 24, 5 days in 2023, and visited a laboratory of single molecules protein dynamics. So actually, it was very intensive because they were grouped in small groups, and they actually really followed the researchers in their work. And what did they explore? They explored issues such as how are the researchers working as a team? That we know that is very, very important in the scientific research. The goal is also to show that research is done in order to make our world better and to see how we can improve it. What is the value of the research for an educational perspective, as well as for the society? How did your research, by me as a job shadower, contribute to you as a science educator? And did your research experience enable you to propose other ways, maybe, of job shadowing? Because we can always improve what we are doing, and we always need to get feedback and a reflection from the people with whom we try to teach, with whom we try to educate. How can we get also better with our actions? So here is the feedback. So please, comments made by the visitors who are the visitors are, just to make it clear, the students, PhD students, science educators, and they should afterwards be the agents of change in their schools, in their institutions, and so on. So please read it I will let you read it 1 minute, and I will afterwards focus on what I would like to focus. Okay, George, so I will focus that they very much evaluated the teamwork and also the leader's attitude, the laboratory leader, the scientist that they met, that they also took into consideration the needs of their students, the needs of their lab assistants, and this enabled also that every student, although he had his or her own topic, the whole team was part of it. And they shared the goal, they had seminar, they worked together. And in summary, this work group seems to have very good practices about research planning and working as a team. So what we mean by that, the sustainability education, it's not only about climate change, it's also about how we are behaving in our work, in our education enterprise, and so on. Then, on another year, in 2000, it was in 2024, they visited an ecological forest, ecophysiology, sorry for mumbling. We have a professor at the Weizmann Institute. His name is Professor Dan Yakir. He's from the environmental department. And he established 20 years ago a forest in which he does a lot of ecophysiology experiments. He researches the biosphere-atmosphere interactions, as you can see, across scales and environmental conditions. So we took the whole group. It was not job shadowing, it's site visit on a long day in order to give them and us, we also didn't visit this place many times, understand the processes of the ecosystems, how the climates are changing, how it somehow it influences the global change, how the ecosystem interact together, and what are the activities of the biosphere. So it was very interesting, the way that it is done, the way that all the data is, of course, delivered to the laboratory at the Weizmann Institute, and what are the contributions of these experiments to the global environment and to the research and to us as well. So it was not just, visiting, because we thought we had, what I forgot to tell you, they had a preparation beforehand. They needed to read some papers of Professor Dan Yakir's group in order to understand what they are going to do. They were able to ask questions during the visit, and they had also follow-up activities. What I mean that whenever we have all these activities, we always try also to prepare our students or visitors to the visit, because otherwise it's just like, taking our small children to a museum without any preparation. Always we had also about the laboratory, they needed to read some papers and afterwards to fill in, as you saw, their feedback and also reflections. And here we had also this workshop following the visit. So the workshop consisted of 4 components. First of all, a representative from Finland, they talked about climate competences of the Finnish youth with discussions about it, because it was a workshop. All the people we were something like 50 persons from the Weizmann, from Finland and from Estonia, and we were working in groups. Another one was unpacking the connections between climate literacy and the sense of place, a case study about the Bedouin community in the Negev. I will just tell you, Bedouins are part, of course, of Israel, of the Arab population. They live in the northern part of Israel, in the southern part. What characterizes them, maybe not anymore so much, that they just like to wander from one place to another. The Israeli government tries to give them better conditions, not always, sorry for saying it, but try, and we are fighting for it too, as we are demonstrating for everything, and in order that they will have their conditions and education in one place with everything, all their needs around them. So here is the research about it. Another component was speak to me in numbers, teaching the SDGs and development skills for global change. Namely, always when we're preaching for something, we need to bring evidence. I can say, from now until, the hell will freeze, that today there is a global change. Okay, what do we mean by it? We can say that now when it's morning, it's evening. You need to bring data for what you are doing. Otherwise, I can't believe you. So the sun is rising, this is data. But when I bring also numbers and show what is the difference between what's happening now, what's happening 10 years ago, or what is the forecast, it changes a lot the perceptions of the other people. And the fourth one was about citizenship, climate change in the Arctic, visible and invisible, and this was about guests who had from abroad, not only from our consortium, not only from our project. It was Professor Kathy Middlecamp from Wisconsin, and she was talking about this. So I would like to focus 1 minute about speak to me in numbers and show how it is important. So if we see the global warming's 6 Americans in 2017, they had a survey that consisted of 1,266 people in the United States, and they wanted to find out how many people notice what's happening in the global warming. And they saw that 10%, if are dismissive. They don't care about it. 12% are doubtful, no global warming. It was 20 years ago as well. And disengaged, 6%, cautious, only 4%, concerned, 29%, and alarmed, 18%. So it's not too much, So what did we do with our education? Because global warming, we need to, as I said, we're not responsible for everything, but we need to know how to cope it. We need to know what to do, and we need to know what shouldn't we add to it with the pollution, with everything that's around us. Then in 2023, with 1,033 US adults, they did the same survey, and now there were more alarmed. Not too many, but more than we had before. If we look before, alarmed 28%. Beforehand, we had only 18%. Concerned, we had 29%. and this remained. But alarmed, we have 10% more. So we know that education is a long process, but we should continue with it. We should believe in what we are doing and not give up. Be persistent. Here it's a very nice cartoon about it, about concern, just, for us to look at it. And when we try to teach young students, elementary school, or even in the kindergarten, although in kindergarten, they are immediately convinced and then they come home and try to educate everyone. But it's nice to show them what do we mean by it. So the feedback that we had, just look at I need to finish. Georges.
No, it's okay. You have still 5 minutes.
Okay, so we had the opportunity. You can read again, please. I don't like to read what's written. So the conclusion was that all these activities were a good opportunity to better understand what is the scientific work, which is always very much, advocated to know about, the characteristic of the research about it, and about its connection to everyday life, and also about the positive and meaningful aspects of sustainable development. More of it, please read. Okay, so also the contribution of all these activities to thinking about an academic career, showing how important it is and how much it can contribute to the world. It has ethical aspects, and how important it is to collaborate with communities around the world to learn about different strategies of education for sustainable development. So, if we look about it, so both job shadowing and site visit were meaningful, and this one I will read, ways for supporting competence buildings for science educators, science teachers, students that are acting better in science education as well as in research in science education. Towards preparing agents of change. We always need these agents in sustainability and in other principles and in other professions as well. So what did we see? That the students and science educators and PhD students, they observed that scientists tend to work in teams, had opportunities to expand the knowledge. They appreciated collaborations between students and scientists it should be. Notice that science is a social practice, not only just, when we are talking scientific, it has to deal with equations and so on, and symbols. Science is a social practice. They understood the scientific world. They got acquainted with research on climate change, environmental issues, and were convinced about the value of education for sustainable development. And moreover, they understood that in order to become a scientist, you don't need to be Einstein. It's a work, and you can do it step by step and succeed. If you are sure of yourself and if you are stubborn enough to do it and know about its benefits. So what have we learned? We learned that sustainability are prevalent for every day, from global change to pollution, waterways, by this that we will contextualize the issues in our daily life, be more aware about relationships between chemists and society, and more motivated to study basic concepts in chemistry, although we don't like it maybe sometimes, but it brings us to scientific literacy that makes us distinguish between what's written in newspaper or what is transmitted in the media, what is true, what is false, what needs to be thought. Somehow it also helps us with our anxiety about what's happening, with our fears, and enables us to look for solutions. Here it's something that in 2011 I had in one of my papers. So everything that we are doing is in order to betterment the public, in order to make our life better. And who, as us in Israel, know how important it should be. So thank you all for listening. Here are some photos from the visit to the forest, Danya Kir Forest, the ecological site, and I will be happy to answer some questions. Thank you. Shall I, George, stop sharing?
Yes, please stop sharing.
Okay.
And thank you very much for the very nice presentation and also for being perfect with the timing. Excellent.
Thank
So now it's the time for the Q&A session, and I already see Shmuel raised his virtual hand. So please unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much. You hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much on a very excellent and interesting presentation. And I want to ask you a question. How, according to your opinion, the education to sustainable development can support resolution problems of poverty, social inequality, and another social problems?
You are so right with your question, and it's an ethical problem, a social problem, the poverty and everything. It's part also of the SDGs that were presented. The sustainability, if we educate, I believe in education. I didn't talk about it, but I believe in education very much. So if we try to somehow to work and to educate about the air pollution, the water pollution, and the benefit, the making our environment clean, making our environment better, thinking, and of course, thinking about other people. I didn't talk about it. It can help. In my talk, only about just sustainability, I'm not sure that I really can answer your question. But if the air pollution is less, if the water quality is better, poor people, let's say all over the world, don't need to somehow to think the whole time about what they are drinking. They don't in the world. don't get malaria, let's say, in places that, no, these people also are, they don't have enough money to treat their asthma or their breathe, let's say, problems with very good doctors. So I believe that it can help for their benefit, but Shmuel, we need to do more. Not only what I talked about. I was very specific, but I will be happy to do a survey about it also.
Thank you very much, Shmuel, for the question, and Rachel for the answer. We still have some time for additional questions or comments. Maybe I can start with mine. So my first one is, how are you planning to implement, the lessons learned from this particular project into your university education, or are you also planning to involve any school education activities related to this project?
Yes, sure. The school activities were already these activities were already integrated into schools in the 3 countries in Estonia, Finland, and Israel. They are taught as modules, small intervention modules everywhere. For example, a small intervention module about biodiesel, let's say, a small intervention model about water quality. Another one, it's about, let's say, even when we're talking about chocolate, how is it performed and where do we get it and where in Africa and what we are doing, and electromagnetic radiation, for example, we also have. So there are in the implementation, all these activity fragments were accumulated into lesson plans. And these lesson plans are integrated in the topic in relationship to the topic. It's not just, as it is, but just out of the blue moon. Today, we're going to learn about it. When we are studying energy, about the energy problems, we're doing this. When we are studying about, let's say, radioactivity, we're doing that, or about radiation in physics, we're doing that. And so it is implemented.
Thank you very much for the answer. And maybe I will ask also my second one. I saw the data from the survey of the American population awareness related to the global warming, and to me, even though there is some improvement, they are still disappointing compared to the level of disaster that is coming from this topic. What do you think we should do, and are you planning any actions to, towards this approach to, let's say, improve the awareness of your students?
We try the whole time. For example, Professor Cai Mamlok-Naaman from Wisconsin, she's working very hard about it. The American Chemical Society, they also try to do a lot of activities, especially, non-formal activities in museums, in forests. There is a project at the University of Michigan that I know Dr. Ann Krechik in a high school in Michigan. She's working and teaching her students about water pollution. There is a huge project about it in Michigan. So a lot of activities about cellular phones also. I myself was involved in a project. It was called, how can we use cellular phones that are safer to use? Safer to use in the meaning of batteries. How are we going to deal with the disposal of batteries that are causing a lot of problems? How are we going to cope with the radiation? How are we going to cope with the plastic? Afterwards, we need get rid of the plastic of the cellular phones, and also the sound. The sound is also something that is a problem for the environment and what's going on. So it was all over. They have projects of driving questions, exactly like how can we cope with the problems of cellular phone? How can we cope with extreme conditions? What kind of houses? It's not only how to prevent, but also how to try and live with it. There are things, if we can't change it, we need to live with it. What can we do? What can we do better in order to build houses that can resist earthquakes? How can we prevent all these, tsunamis and so on? So there are a lot of projects. If you would like, I can send you some references.
Yes, please. Thanks a lot for the reply, and I would be glad to have a look on
I
this.
will do it. Okay.
Any other final question or comment? Either raise your hand or type it in the chat. Let's see.
No, there are not.
It doesn't look like there is
No.
one. So before we are closing this session, I would like to thank once again Professor Mamlok for your contribution. We are really glad and we appreciate your efforts to inform us about this interesting topic. And we will meet once again next week with next presentation, which is coming from Professor Peter Kramer from the University of Siegen, and the topic will be mechanics with a focus on structural health monitoring. So until next week, thank you very much and take care. Bye bye.
All the best to everyone. Bye bye.
To everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.